Last week on Shavuot, we received the Torah together. We were all wearing robes just like this. Just kidding. No. Our people stood at the base of the shaking mountain, facing the flashing of thunder and trumpets of lightning. It was what some psychologists would call a peak experience, the moment when everything changed. Not long after, we fell from that ecstatic and elevated place. The people restlessly built the golden calf to the outrage of Moses, who came back down the mountain with 2 tablets inscribed by God. Furious, Moses smashed the tablets. It was not our best moment, not Moses' best moment either, though he was later instructed by God to remake a second set of tablets, an act of forgiveness and reconciliation. As the Torah portion opens this week, the Israelites wander the desert. The Torah has been given, the Torah has been lost, forgiveness and reconciliation ensued, and now the people wander, trying to make sense of it all. This week's Parsha contains for me what are some of the scariest words in the whole Chumash. Vayehi binsoa ha'aron, vayomer Moshe, Kuma Adonai v'yafutzu oivecha v'yanusu misanecha mipanecha. So it was, whenever the ark set out, Moses would say, "Arise, O God, may your enemies be scattered, and may those who hate you flee from before you." There are questions to consider here. What is this ark? What is in it? And why does it seem to go out before the people leading their way? Who are God's enemies, and where do they flee to? But it is not the specter of enemies or the unknowns of this verse that scare me. I have feared these words for years because they are chanted at the opening of the Torah service, when 3 days a week we gather around the holy ark, remove from it the Torah, unfurl those formidable scrolls, and read aloud the verses written there. For me, the Torah service has always been the scariest part of Jewish prayer. I mean scary as in awe-inspiring, but I also mean scary as in sweaty palms and shortness of breath. The service is full of intricate choreography, processing and bowing, lifting and carrying, reciting liturgy in motion. It contains numerous sacred objects to be handled with care, and a cadre of participants cycling through. The service is demanding and complex for any leader to keep track of. And if you are like me, inclined towards perfectionism, it is ripe with opportunities to trip up. In our Torah portion, the Israelites wandered, led by the ark, the same ark we evoke when we open our own Aron HaKodesh to remove and read from the scrolls of Torah. Vayehi binsoa ha'aron, vayomer Moshe. Not to be presumptuous, but as a prayer leader, I have felt akin to Moses when lifting the heavy scrolls out of the ark, shouldering the burden of responsibility to impart meaning and relevance through this inherited text. My anxieties about executing the steps in the right order are surely not about choreography alone. When we take the Torah into our own hands and open it up for a group of people, it is much more than a physical act. The symbolic significance of it can be utterly daunting. I remember when our dean, Sharon, told me, "Do the things that scare you the most while you're in rabbinical school, and do them often." I remember one morning after I had led maybe my 10th Torah service at Hebrew College, asking Alan and Shayna, "How many times do you have to do something before it stops scaring you, before your hands stop trembling?" And they answered, "Maybe 100, maybe more." Each of us, as we step into our leadership, faces a different set of fears, different places in our work where we struggle to find our sense of authenticity or skill, where we struggle to feel good enough. There are many confusing models out there for what religious leadership looks like, as well as our own internal standards to meet. So what happens when we open up the doors to the ark? The Talmud teaches that the first set of tablets, broken by Moses in his rage, are not discarded. Rather, luchot v'shivrei luchot munachim ba'aron. The intact tablets and the broken tablets rest together in the ark. As the people wander, they take with them what is broken and what is whole. The broken tablets allude to a world of brokenness, like the broken notes of shvarim blasting from a shofar, or the shattering of a glass beneath the wedding canopy. Our tradition does not strive for perfection. In fact, it readily recognizes a world containing suffering and injustice, a world containing flawed and hurting people, a world in which the jagged edges of the broken tablets can rest beside the mystically perfect second set. Today, we live in a culture that teaches us to throw away what is broken, or at least to hide it. But our spiritual ancestors sacralized the broken, placing it into their holiest vessel and carrying it with them through the desert. Another midrash tells us that after he broke the first set of tablets, Moses began to regret it. God comforted him, saying, "Do not feel bad about the first tablets, for they only contained the 10 Commandments. However, the second tablets I give you will also contain halacha, midrash, and agadah." What started as an act of anger has become the transmission of Jewish commentary and interpretation. Moses' imperfect leadership activates a whole new kind of revelation. If not for the mistake made by the Israelites in constructing the golden calf, if not for Moses' honest and flawed humanity, we may never have received the rich and varied textual tradition that has shaped Judaism for centuries, that has drawn each of us to come study at Hebrew College. Things get better, more complex and more diverse, more interesting, when we are honest about who we are. For us, emerging today as cantors, educators, and rabbis, the broken tablets offer us permission to model a vulnerable leadership, to show our true edges, our wounds and fissures, the places where we are not perfect. And we, in turn, can model this for others. We're still here, hands trembling, just as we were when we stood at the base of a shaking Mount Sinai. Whatever it is that we fear, we have to do it 100 times or more until it stops feeling new. We are led binsoa ha'aron by the traveling ark, containing both sets of tablets as a reminder that we are never done becoming ourselves, as leaders, as individuals, and as a community. My blessing for us is that the arks always open, that Torah be revealed freely and often for ourselves and for everyone who we serve. May we find ourselves within them, broken and whole.